Right, I'm on now then with doing the other end of the brake, so I'm going to look at actually getting a pedal, so we've got some brakes, which means mounting master cylinder. This is one we've got on the shelf, Brake King. So I've got to mount this on the pedal, so that when you push the pedal, it pushes the master cylinder in and sends fluid to the brake calipers. I'm also going to have to put a reservoir somewhere as well. So this is the brake pedal. I want to use the original brake pedal if I can, just because it's cool. So I'm thinking if I can mount that down there somewhere and then run a clevis off of the end of the push rod to the pedal that will push the push rod in, then that should work in theory. So I'm going to look at mounting the master cylinder to the chassis here somewhere, like that, and then obviously hooking it to the brake pedal so that when you push that in, it does what it needs to do. I need to make up a plate that's going to go into, and then 2 bolts. I'm going to bolt it on, which I've already done just by magic, which took ages to do for 3 little holes. So I've done that, so then that goes on there, like so, and then I can bolt that to there, and then we can weld that plate now onto the chassis, and then with a bit of adjustments I can get a push rod clevis onto the pedal and get that working. So I'm going to clean this up, tack it in place, find a clevis or some way of fixing this together, and then see what I can make of it. Ow, ow. Ow, 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 ow. Ow. It's still hot. I need to position this pedal because at the minute it floats on the shaft. But once we've got it positioned, which is about there somewhere, it actually brakes really well, or operates really well. And all I've done is welded a bolt to a nut to be able to get the push rod to do what it needs to do. That's bolted up there, that's just tacked in place, but in terms of position and height and everything, that's roughly where I wanted the pedal, and now it'll operate. So all we've got to do is plumb from here to the rear calipers, and then probably bolt a reservoir up here somewhere and then down so that we get fluid in and fluid out. And that should work. I'm going to leave it like that before bolting up everything and welding it all right, just to make sure it works. This master might not be the right master for it, might want a different size. I think this is a 5/8 master, so 5/8 bore. So we'll try this. I'll get that in position as well where I want it, and we'll see how that goes. Stop, stop, go! I'm now looking at doing the shifter. So this is a sequential gearbox, so in a motorbike you shift with your foot and it's sequential. We need a shifter up to grab with your hand, because obviously your feet are going to be busy with the pedals, but there's a lot of stuff to navigate, so I'm just welding on a bit of tube here that will then give me something to come off of. But I've got to navigate a chain housing there, a leg there, and then everything else that's in the way. So it's going to be a bit of a funny one. I think it might be a bit of a shaped shifter to actually work there, but I'm starting with that. That gives me something to work from then.
So what movement does that have to have on it?
Well, this?
Yes.
So it rotates like that, not much. Or so that's selecting each different gear. So it's not much movement. So by the time it's up here, it'll be quite a lot more because of the leverage. But yeah, it's not a massive amount of throttle that's got to move. Just need to put a stick on it now. Put your foot up here, so your heel's on that round bit there. A bit higher up. Yeah. So I need to come as close as I can to the casing, but out of the way of your foot.
Just gonna have to.
It's going to want to be about here.
Dog leg out.
Yeah. If we just keep welding tools together. Right.
Oh, that's going to be an issue, I think, with your leg. Maybe not.
How did that not hit your legs?
Smaller.
So I've mocked that up just with some bar. I just want to get the position of it, get it working and get the position of it. The shifter's also going to have a hand clutch on it as well, because there was no nice way of doing it on your feet, and I wanted the feet to be left foot brake, right foot throttle like a go-kart. I didn't want two pedals on this side and then a clutch pedal on this side like a car. So this is going to have a hand clutch on it, and because it's a dog box anyway, you can shift without a clutch anyway, so that'll be fine. Got that shifting okay, I'm happy with that, so I think I'm going to work with that. Obviously I'll need to cut down this tube here, ow, that's hot, to clear your foot, and then I'll make this up nicely and then make a proper shifter with the hand clutch on it as well, which is going to be awkward because you're going to have a pipe running all the way down there, which is fine to be fair, because that's the clutch slave cylinder, so it might run, the pipe might run down here and then literally kink back up, and there should be enough movement in it to accommodate that, so that works out alright. Just thinking out loud.
What about clearance to your leg?
So clearance to my leg is okay. It's limited anyway, but I'm sat back in the position I'd be sat in, and it's close to my leg to be fair. I suppose I could crank it again at the other end. Maybe have a look at that and just put a little crank in it here so it brings it away from my leg, but then back in for the hand up here. Position wise, where the hand is not too bad. It's just a lot of throw, but there's no way around that because how far away the pivot point is, and it's just kind of the nature of the compromise we're making by putting a motorbike engine in a lawnmower. So it's suboptimal, but I think it'll work. Just put a crank, another bend in the shaft just a bit further down so that it brings you away from your leg. And I think that will work just fine. Still a ton of throw, which I'm never going to get away from. It's just the nature of the shifter on the gearbox of the bike engine. But that should work. Just got to make a nice version of that now. So we're looking at the chain, doing the chain, or the first part of the chain to get drive to the rear axle. So we're going to run the chain from the output of the engine and gearbox, and we've got to get to the back axle, but the input to the axle is on the other side where Harry is. So we're going to run a chain like that through a centre bearing here, or an idler shaft, and then run a second chain down that side. I'm just doing the centre bearing setup, which is on 2 pillar blocks, which is like a bearing in a housing that you can bolt on. And then I've got this shaft here, which is just 20 mil EN24 shaft that I'll be able to put a sprocket on. So I'm just bolting that in place now, and then we'll be able to get the sprockets, put the sprockets on, and then put a chain on and tension it. So I'm just putting this together now with a few nuts and bolts so that we can do that. Just shortening the chain. So we don't want it that long, we want it that long. That's hot. Harry's got his best Chinesian chain tool. One link less. For the sprockets, we've got the factory Honda sprocket there that goes onto the engine and gearbox. And then we bought like a stock 530 chain sprocket and then used a shaft collar that's the same diameter as that, and then welded them together like so, which means that that'll push on there now, and we'll be able to locate that and bolt it down. And then now we can run a chain onto that. So we've got a piece of chain now that we've put to size just by taking out some links, and then we've got it in place, but it's still really slack, which means we need to tension it. We can't take any more links out of it because that'll make it odd and then it won't fit together. So we just need to be able to move this centre shaft now away from the engine and gearbox to be able to tension it, and just rotate it basically to get this a bit tighter. Okay, so with a bit of messing around, quite a bit of messing around, we've got the chain made up with a quick link, and then the bearing and shaft are mounted. That's the original from there, and then this is the one that we've made up, and it should all just go together nicely, he says. There we go. That goes on there as it did, and that goes on there now, and with the pillow block tensioned, we've got a good chain there. The only thing we've got to do now is space it away so that that's running true, so that this sprocket is running in the same line as this, so it's not twisted like that. But we're going to do the other side and then we can do it together, sort of thing. So yeah, we're going to jump on the other side now. Okay, so on this side we've got the intermediate shaft that we've just done, so we need a sprocket on there, and we need to run a chain all the way back here to this shaft here, which is the input for the gearbox. So we need a second sprocket on there and then a chain to join them up. We've got one sprocket there that's exactly the same as the other side that's been made up and welded. So that can go on there, and that's good. And then we've got another one that will do the same thing as we've done here on there. The only problem is this is a non-metric 3/4 inch shaft, and these are 20mm. So I have to order one of these seal collars to weld onto it that's the non-metric size. So we can't do that just yet, which is fine because I've got the chain as well. It's quite a long chain obviously, so I've already put a join in this to make it long enough. The chain that I'd bought was too short, which I knew, so I've added in an extra bit of chain here using the quick link. I just now need another quick link to join this up where I'm going to join it up for the length. So at the minute I can't really progress on that because I'm waiting for the shaft collar and the quick link, but when they come it'll be pretty straightforward. Oh, we'll have to put a tensioner in it as well. So on the other chain we can tension it by moving this shaft. If we move this shaft now it'll mess up that side and we can't move the gearbox, so that's got to stay where it is, that's got to stay where it is, and we've got to take tension out. So we'll do that with a third chain tensioner that will bolt on somewhere. That should work, so I've got to order one of them as well.
I am working on mounting the brake disc and caliper for the rear axle. So we had some brake discs around, and these will mount to the stock Can-Am calipers. And then we have some stock Can-Am brake calipers that I have made a template up for the mounting bracket, and that will allow me to mount them like so. Made the template. I'm going to trace it onto a piece of steel and then cut that out, which I've already done. So once I've cut that out, that'll allow me to mount the caliper on the rear axle.
Lovely. Just plumbing up the brakes now. I've started at the master cylinder. Let me show you. So I started at the master cylinder that I mounted. I had a reservoir pot kicking about that I dug out, that I've literally just tacked up a washer here to mount it so I can tighten that down on that nut. there's the reservoir that drops straight into the master, which we know works. And then I've started plumbing back to the calipers. Obviously this only runs rear brakes like a go-kart and that sort of thing. I've run a main line all the way back to the rear axle, where there's a T-piece that will split it left and right. So I've already plumbed in that right-hand side in there like that, giving myself extra hose so that I can route it nicely when we were all finished off. And we'll have little tabs and stuff that we'll tack on that we can cable tie it to. So I've just got to do this side, but annoyingly I've run out of the banjo fitting that goes on the caliper side, so I can't finish this off. I might stick the one end on ready, but I can't finish it off until I get another one of these. So, come here. I'll show you the kind of pipe and fittings we're using. It's all compression fittings, but it's all done with spanners, so you don't need special tooling to do it. It's called Aero Equip or Moto Equip, depending on who you use or who's made it, basically. But it's I know it as Aero Equip, and I've been using it for years. And it's a braided line that's got like a Teflon inner. So that's your Teflon inner. That's squashed in a minute. Obviously, it's supposed to be round. You got a Teflon inner and then a braid on the outside, and this particular one then has got protective plastic as well. But like I say, I've been using this for years, probably 20 years or more, and it's dead easy. I like it because you can make up custom pipes like you would a solid pipe. If you do have issues at a race and stuff like that, you can fix it. So if, which we've done a load of, to be fair, like if we have an issue at a race, a pipe gets cut or whatever might happen, a rocket or whatever, we can literally cut it there, get two of these fittings, put a fitting on each end and then bolt them back together again. You've got an end fitting like that. You've got a little olive, like similar to like a water pipe olive type thing, crush olive. So you put that on first, then the olive goes in there between the braid and the Teflon, and then you screw whatever fitting you need in. So that end goes into the pipe and then screws into this, like that. And then whatever fitting you've got on the end goes to wherever it needs to. This has got the protective stuff over the outside of the braid, and it comes in different colours and stuff, whereas this one's clear. So I'm just pulling that off out of the way, and that can get rid of that. I've taken off more than I need to. You only need to take off about that much. That end cap goes on first, and that just pushes over the whole thing. Because it's braided, it's a little bit fiddly. That goes all the way to the end. You don't need to push it all the way down there, you only need to get it off a little bit. Next up, I've got to open up the braid here, like that, which is always fun to do with your fingers. They're nice and pointy. But basically open it up enough so that this little olive piece, which is tapered, can go over the Teflon, but between the braid. So the braid goes over the outside of it and the Teflon goes on the inside of it. So like that, but it's not fully on. So in fact, there's a bit of braid that's trying to go underneath it. There we go. And then you want to push that all the way to the end. So it's like fully home. And then you can sort of see the Teflon on the inside happy. And then this pushes down the inside of the Teflon, which is also really easy, like that. And then all I do is, because the braid's on the outside of the olive, as I push that up and then screw this into this, it clamps it down onto the Teflon and then the steel bit that's on the inside of this. So as that tightens, it's now compressing it, and then that's what seals it. The axle like that, up to there, and then we'll have a bit of extra to there. So I'm going to cut it off there, and I've just got to put my banjo end on there then.
So after lots of cutting and grinding, I've cut the brake caliper bracket out of steel now. I'm just going to bolt that onto the brake caliper. Just try to work out what angle to mount the caliper. We've already made another bracket and mounted the one on the other side, so we're just trying to work out the angle to make sure that they match. Yeah, we've just got to hook up the brake lines to this side, and they're already hooked up at the front, so we should be good to go.
Are you marking something now, or?
No, I'm just getting prepared to do it.
Right, this now says 271 dead, which is there.
Just weld it quick whilst I've got it.
Happy?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I've got 272 on my side and 271 on this side. So we're less
close enough.
Under 1 degree.
For an iPhone app, I think we'll be alright.
Yeah. There you go. So brakes are done. I got the end for this caliper, plumbed that in, put the reservoir up there, and filled it with full of fluid, and everything didn't leak on the first time, which it did. Forgot to tighten that up, that didn't help, so that pissed fluid everywhere. And I forgot to tighten one on that end. But now we have brakes, and it does work quite well. So quite pleased with that. Not loads of throw on there, which is good, and it locks up those wheels, which is mint. So that's done. I've not welded that bracket up yet, but there's no point until we get everything done. We'll weld it up in one go. So I'm not going to stamp on that because I'll probably rake it off. But everything tests and works fine, so that's good. I'm going to jump on doing some bits on the engine now and getting some bits bolted onto it, because it's basically the bare engine and box. So I've got the carbs to go on. There's a wiring loom, spark plugs and leads need to go in. There's this thermostat thing that I've got to find a place for. I might make a place up. Yeah, and basically just build it up so we can get it a bit close to getting it running.
How long do you want it?
Well, they like sit on there, don't they? So it only needs to be
20 mil.
Yeah, what's that depth on there? Just measure that depth.
Yeah, it's 10, so
sweet. Nothing actually mounts this, it just sort of floats.
Probably mounts on the frame somewhere, doesn't it?
No, it's got no mounting points on it. Right, so if I do that there like that, and then I can go pipe out to rad, pipe out to rad. I have got this thermostat housing, which is the bike one, and it's like a remote one, so it just sort of floats in no man's land. So I'm just piping that up because there's a couple of sensors on here that are probably important for stuff. I'm getting that mounted in there with some pipe work, and then Harry's on with getting the carbs fitted, which go up here, but we're missing the little rubber connectors there, so he's just making some out of some silicone hose. Nice. So that the choke cable's on your side. Cooling system.